The flowers arrived at 2:47 p.m. and Amara knew someone was about to die. Not because of the blood-red roses sitting on her desk like an accusation, but because her boss, the man who never raised his voice, never lost control, was standing in his office doorway with murder in his eyes. Kang Min-jae crossed the room in 3 strides, his hand closing around her wrist as he growled 6 words that changed everything. Who got you those flowers? The entire floor had gone silent. The other assistants stared at their computer screens with unusual intensity, as if the quarterly reports had suddenly become fascinating. The security guard by the elevator, when had there started being a security guard, wouldn't meet Amara's eyes. "I don't know," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "There's no card." "Find out, now." His accent thickened slightly, the way it did when he was angry. Except Min-jae didn't get angry. In 6 months, she'd never seen him lose his composure. He was always controlled, always cold, always 3 steps ahead of everyone in the room. But right now, his fingers pressed against her pulse point, like he was counting her heartbeats, and there was something wild in his dark eyes. She reached for the bouquet. His grip tightened. "Don't touch them." "Min-jae, what's—" Jae Sung. He didn't look away from her face. A man appeared from nowhere, tall, built like a boxer, someone Amara had seen around the office but never really noticed. Min-jae spoke in rapid Korean, his tone lethal. The man nodded once and gestured. 2 more men in suits materialized and removed the flowers like they were dismantling a bomb. Min-jae still held her wrist. His thumb moved just slightly against her skin. She wondered if he could feel how fast her heart was racing. She wondered why part of her didn't want him to let go. "My office," he said quietly. Now. She should have been afraid. 6 months of working for Kang Min-jae had taught her that his quiet moments were more dangerous than other men's rage. But as he led her across the floor, his hand never leaving her wrist, all she could think was that this was the first time he'd touched her skin to skin. And God help her, she didn't hate it. He closed his office door behind them. The click of the lock sounded too loud. "Sit." She didn't sit. "What's going on? Who sent those flowers?" "I told you, I don't know. There was no card, no name, nothing." "Then who would send you flowers, Amara?" The way he said her name, careful with each syllable, like he'd practiced, made something flutter in her chest. "A boyfriend? An admirer?" "I don't have a boyfriend." "Good." The word came out too fast, too raw. He caught himself, straightened his tie with hands that weren't quite steady. That's not my concern. But those flowers were a message, and I need to know who sent them." "A message?" "Min-jae, they're just flowers." The door opened without a knock. The man from before, Jae Sung, Min-jae had called him, entered and spoke in Korean. Amara caught one word: park. Min-jae's expression went blank, completely, terrifyingly blank. "Get out," he said to Jae Sung, switching to English. "All of you, clear the floor, now." Jae Sung hesitated. "Hyungnim, now." When they were alone again, Min-jae turned to her. The flowers were from a business rival. Park Joon-ho, he sent them to test something. "Test what?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then he crossed the distance between them, backing her against his desk. Not threatening, but deliberate. His hands came up, framing her face, and Amara forgot how to breathe. "To test whether you matter to me," he said quietly. "And I just failed spectacularly. Every person in this building now knows that you do." Her heart hammered. "I'm just your secretary." "Don't." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Don't pretend you don't feel this. I've watched you for 6 months, Amara. I've seen the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention, the way you lean closer when I explain things, the way you—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "You matter. More than you should. More than is safe." "Safe?" The word came out breathless. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Park Joon-ho sent you flowers to see if I'd react, and I reacted exactly the way he wanted me to. Now he knows my weakness. Your weakness? You, Amara. He leaned in, his mouth inches from hers. You're my weakness, and in my world, that could get you killed. Before she could ask what that meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and swore in Korean. I have to go. Jae-sung will take you home. Don't argue. Don't leave your apartment tonight. I'll have someone watching your building. Watching my Min-jae. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared, but I promise you this. His hand slid to the back of her neck and she shivered. No one will touch you, not while I'm breathing. Then he was gone, and Amara was left standing in his office, her wrist still tingling from where he'd held her, wondering what the hell she'd gotten herself into, and wondering why, despite everything, she wanted more. If you're hooked and need to know what happens next, smash that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get dangerous. Drop a comment telling us, would you risk everything for your boss? Let us know below. But to understand how Amara Okafor became the obsession of New York's most dangerous Korean mafia boss, how a simple secretary job became a matter of life and death, you have to go back 6 months earlier, before the flowers, before the danger, before she realized the man she was falling for wasn't just her boss. He was one of the most dangerous men in the city. 6 months earlier, Amara sat across from the most intimidating man she'd ever met, and she'd grown up with Nigerian uncles who could silence a room with a look. Kang Min-jae's office was minimalist to the point of sterile, cold glass, steel furniture, and the kind of silence that made her heartbeat sound too loud. He sat behind his desk in a black suit that probably cost more than her rent, watching her with dark eyes that seemed to calculate her worth down to the cent. He hadn't smiled once during the interview, hadn't made small talk, just asked precise questions about her MBA, her organizational skills, her ability to handle pressure. Why do you want this position? His English was perfect, barely accented. Amara had prepared corporate answers about growth opportunities and career development, but something about his directness made her throw the script out. Because I'm good at organization, I don't scare easily, and I need the salary you're offering. She met his eyes. I have student loans and family back home depending on remittances. I need this job, Mr. Kang, but I'm also qualified for it. Something flickered in his expression. Almost amusement. You don't scare easily? No, sir. He leaned back and she caught the edge of something. A tattoo beneath his crisp white shirt cuff. You speak other languages besides English? Igbo fluently, some Yoruba, conversational French. Computer skills? Advanced? Excel, databases, scheduling systems. I can learn anything quickly. He studied her for another long moment. Amara refused to squirm under that intense gaze. She'd survived her father's interrogations about boys and her grandmother's lectures about respect. She could handle a CEO's silent assessment. You're hired, he said finally. Start Monday. She blinked. Don't you want to check my references? I already have. I know everything about you, Ms. Okafor. The way he said her name, careful, deliberate, each syllable pronounced correctly, sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. Everything. Your undergraduate degree from Rutgers, your MBA from NYU, graduated summa cum laude, your volunteer work at the Nigerian Community Centre in Queens, the fact that you send money home to Lagos every month to support your extended family, your clean credit despite the student loans, your lack of criminal record, your apartment in Queens that you share with no one because you value your privacy. He paused. Shall I continue? It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like being seen, really seen for the first time in her life. Not just as a resume or a diversity hire, but as a complete person whose details mattered enough to know. That's thorough, she managed. I'm thorough about everything that matters, Ms. Okafor. He stood, extending his hand. Welcome to Kang Enterprises. My previous secretary will train you this week. You'll report directly to me. I expect discretion, efficiency, and loyalty. In return, you'll find I'm a fair employer. She shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and lasted just a moment longer than professional. When she left his office, she could feel his eyes on her back. She should have recognized the red flag, the too thorough background check, the salary that was almost double market rate, the way he'd said loyalty like it meant something more than showing up on time, but the salary was too good, and Kang Min-jae, despite his intensity, seemed like just another demanding CEO. She had no idea how wrong she was. The first month passed in a blur of reorganization and late nights. Amara quickly realized that Min-jae's previous secretary had been competent, but not exceptional. His schedule was a disaster, double bookings and missed meetings buried in a system that made no sense. She tore it apart and rebuilt it. Color-coded and streamlined, Min-jae noticed immediately. This is better, he said, studying his new calendar. More efficient. Thank you, sir. Call me Min-jae. Sir makes me feel like my father. She filed that away, the first personal detail he'd shared. His father was clearly someone he didn't want to be compared to. She also noticed things she probably shouldn't have. The men who came to visit weren't typical business associates. They moved like soldiers, spoke in low voices, and always deferred to Min-jae with a respect that bordered on fear. One had a gun poorly concealed under his jacket. She'd seen the outline when he reached for a pen. The import-export business didn't quite add up. The shipment manifests she processed were vague. The amounts of money moving through accounts were staggering, but the salary was good, and Min-jae, for all his intensity, never raised his voice at her, never made her feel small. In fact, he seemed to value her competence in a way her previous employers never had. Ms. Okafor, he said one afternoon, appearing at her desk. I have a meeting running late. Cancel my dinner reservation. Already done. Rescheduled for next Friday, same restaurant. He blinked. How did you know I'd want to reschedule rather than cancel? Because you don't make reservations at places like that casually. You make them when you want to impress someone. So I assumed you'd want another chance. A smile, small but genuine, perceptive. Thank you. She watched him return to his office, and something warm settled in her chest. Being good at her job felt good. Being appreciated for it felt better. Being noticed by Kang Min-jae felt dangerous. It was the small things she noticed over those first weeks. The way he always made sure she'd eaten lunch, sending his driver to pick up food if she was working through her break. The way he remembered she was allergic to shellfish after she'd mentioned it once in passing. The way his eyes followed her across the room during meetings, like he was cataloguing her reactions. She tried to ignore the flutter in her stomach every time he stood too close. Explaining something on her computer screen, tried to ignore how good he smelled. Expensive cologne and something else, something uniquely him. Tried to ignore the fact that she'd started dressing more carefully in the mornings, wondering if he'd notice. He noticed everything. New blouse? He asked one morning. She glanced down at the cream silk. Yes. It's nice. The colour suits you. Then he walked into his office before she could respond, leaving her staring after him. By the end of the first month, Amara had to admit the truth. She was developing feelings for her boss. Inconvenient, unprofessional, absolutely inadvisable feelings for a man who was clearly more than he appeared to be. A man who looked at her like she was simultaneously the answer to a question and a problem he couldn't solve. The shift happened on a Tuesday night. 6 weeks into her employment, Amara was staying late again, finishing a report that Min-jae needed for an early morning meeting. The office was empty, except for the overnight security. and she was starting to notice there was a lot of security for an import-export business. She was so focused on her screen that she didn't hear Min-jae approach until he spoke. "You're still here." She jumped, hand flying to her chest. "Chinake! You scared me." He tilted his head. "What does that mean? Chinake. It's Igbo, means God. More like oh my God in context." She took a breath, steadying herself. "I didn't realize you were still here." "I could say the same." He moved closer, leaning against her desk. "You should go home, Amara. The report can wait." "It's fine, I'm almost done." "You say that every night." His voice was soft. "When do you rest?" "When the work is finished." "And if the work is never finished?" She looked up at him, really looked. He seemed tired. There were shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. "When do you rest, Min-jae?" "Touche." He smiled slightly. "I'm ordering dinner. You'll join me." It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "I should finish." "It wasn't a request, Ms. Okafor. If you're staying to work, you're eating. I won't have you passing out from low blood sugar in my office." 30 minutes later, they sat in his office with Thai food spread between them. Amara tried to maintain professional distance, but there was something intimate about eating together in the quiet building, the city lights glowing through the windows. "Tell me about your family," Min-jae said, surprising her. "Why?" "Because I know the facts from your background check. But facts aren't the same as truth." "Tell me something true." She considered him. "My parents immigrated here when I was 12. My father is a professor at a community college. My mother is a nurse. They worked themselves to exhaustion to put me through school. I have cousins and aunts and uncles still in Lagos who depend on me sending money home. I feel guilty every time I spend money on anything nice because I know they need it more. That's a lot of pressure. That's family." She picked at her pad tie. "What about you? Do you have family here?" Something closed off in his expression. "My mother is in Korea. My father is dead." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. He died doing what he loved." She wanted to ask what that was, but the way he said it made her think she didn't want to know. "What about siblings?" She tried instead. "A younger sister, still in Korea. I protect her from a distance." "Protect her from what?" His eyes met hers. "From the choices I've made." The words hung heavy between them. Amara knew she should drop it, should keep things professional. But something about the late hour and the dim lighting and the way he was looking at her made her brave. "What choices, Min-jae?" "Ones I can never unmake. Ones that keep me awake at night. Ones that mean I'll probably die alone because anyone who gets close to me is in danger." Her heart clenched. "That's a lonely way to live." "It's the only way I know how." They ate in silence after that, but it wasn't uncomfortable. When Amara finally finished the report and prepared to leave, Min-jae insisted his driver take her home. She tried to protest, but he was immovable. "It's late. You're not taking the subway." "I take the subway every day." "Not at midnight. Not from this neighborhood." He pulled out his phone. "Jae-sung will drive you." The same man from before appeared, the one who moved like a soldier. He nodded respectfully to her. "Annyeonghaseyo, Ms. Okafor." She blinked at the Korean greeting. "Hello?" In the car, Jae-sung was quiet, but not unfriendly. Amara noticed he took a different route than she would have, one that avoided certain areas. And when they reached her building, he waited until she was inside before driving away. She watched from her window as the car idled for another few minutes, making sure she was safe. What kind of import-export business required this level of security? But as she got ready for bed, her mind wasn't on the strangeness of her job. It was on the way Min-jae had looked at her when he said anyone who got close to him was in danger, like he was warning her, and like he desperately hoped she wouldn't listen. Over the next month, the lines between professional and personal grew increasingly blurred. Min-jae started keeping things in his desk for her. Nigerian chin-chin, the fried dough snacks she'd mentioned missing from home, shea butter lotion when he noticed her hands were dry from the office air, a sweater when the AC was too cold. She returned the favours, learning how he took his coffee, black, No sugar, specific temperature, keeping ibuprofen stocked for the headaches he got from staring at screens, ordering his preferred lunch from the Korean restaurant down the street before he asked. They were learning each other, memorizing preferences and habits, and the small details that made them individuals rather than boss and employee. Her cousin Chi-Chi noticed during one of their weekly coffee meetups. "Girl, your boss is fine, Chi-Chi said, scrolling through Kang Enterprises' website. "And he's rich. Please tell me you're at least thinking about it." "He's my boss, Chi-Chi. That's inappropriate." "Inappropriate is that man paying you that salary and looking at you like—" She showed Amara a photo from a company event. Min-jae stood in the background, but his eyes were clearly on Amara, who was speaking to a client. The intensity of his gaze was unmistakable. "Like that. That man wants you." Amara's cheeks heated. "You're imagining things." "Am I? When's the last time you mentioned any other man in your life? It's all Min-jae said this and Min-jae did that. You're into him. Even if I were, which I'm not saying I am, it would never work. He's Korean. My father would have a fit." Chi-Chi rolled her eyes. "Your father needs to get over himself. This isn't Lagos in the 1980s. You're allowed to date whoever you want. Easy for you to say. You don't have to deal with the family pressure. True, benefits of having progressive parents." Chi-Chi leaned forward. "But seriously, Amara, life's too short to deny yourself happiness because you're worried about what other people think. If you like him, and he clearly likes you, then explore it. It's not that simple. It never is. But the question is, do you want to look back at 35 and wonder what if?" Amara didn't have an answer, but she thought about it all week. The shift from professional to something more happened gradually. Then, all at once, it was the small moments that added up. His hand on her lower back, guiding her through a crowded restaurant. The way he stood when she entered a room, like her presence mattered enough to acknowledge. The Korean phrases he started teaching her. "Annyeong" for hello, "Gamsahamnida" for thank you, "Saranghae" for... She'd stopped him before he translated that last one. Some instinct telling her she wasn't ready to hear it. There were also the moments that made her question everything. The phone calls conducted entirely in Korean, his tone going hard and cold. The meetings with men who looked more like criminals than businessmen. The way everyone in the office seemed afraid of him, except her. One afternoon, she overheard part of a conversation through his office door, left slightly ajar. "Shipment was intercepted. Park's people are getting bold." Min-jae's response was ice. "Then we make an example. Choose one. Make it public. Make it memorable." "Yeah, Hyungnim." Amara had frozen at her desk. Make an example. What did that mean? She tried to tell herself she was reading too much into it. Corporate espionage, hostile takeovers, these things happened in business. But the gun in the glove compartment, the security, the men who called him Hyungnim, Korean for an older brother or superior, but with a weight that suggested more than respect. The facts were there. She just didn't want to see them. 3 months into her employment, something changed. Amara started noticing things out of place in her apartment. Small things. A window she was sure she'd locked was unlocked. Her laptop moved slightly on her desk. The feeling of being watched when she walked to the subway. She told herself she was being paranoid. But then came the parking garage. She was leaving work late again, a habit she'd fallen into. Min-jae always stayed late, and she found herself reluctant to leave while he was still there. It was nearly midnight when she finally packed up. The parking garage was mostly empty, their cars isolated in the dim fluorescent lighting. Amara was halfway to her old Honda when 3 men stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. They weren't dressed like robbers. They wore suits, and they moved with purpose. "Ms. Okafor," one said, his Korean accent thick, "please come with us. Mr. Park would like to speak with you." Her heart hammered. "I don't know any Mr. Park." "That's not important. What's important is that you work for Kang Min-jae, and Mr. Park has questions about your boss." She backed away, reaching for her phone. The man's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. Don't make this difficult. Let her go. The voice was cold enough to frost glass. Amara spun to see Min-jae striding toward them, flanked by Jae-sung and two other men she recognized from the office. Min-jae's expression was absolutely terrifying, blank in a way that promised violence. The men holding her released her immediately, backing away with their hands raised. Min-jae spoke in rapid Korean, his tone lethal. Whatever he said made all three men pale. They retreated quickly, disappearing into the shadows of the garage. Then Min-jae was in front of her, his hands framing her face, eyes searching for injury. Did they hurt you? No, I'm fine. They just... Min-jae, who were those people? Competitors. His jaw clenched. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. They won't approach you again. I promise you that. How can you promise? Because anyone who touches you answers to me. His hands were still on her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones. Do you understand? You're under my protection now. You'll never be approached like that again. I don't understand what's happening. I know, and I'm sorry, but you work for me, Amara. That makes you mine to protect. The possessive language should have alarmed her. Instead, it made her feel safe. Jae-sung will drive you home. I'll follow in my car. From now on, you'll have security. Security? Min-jae, I'm just a secretary. You're not just anything. His voice softened. Not to me. The weight of those words settled over her. She wanted to ask what he meant, but he was already guiding her toward a black SUV where Jae-sung waited. The drive home was quiet, but when they reached her building, Min-jae walked her to her door. She unlocked it with shaking hands, then turned to find him standing closer than professional distance allowed. I'm sorry, he said quietly. This is my world. It's ugly and dangerous, and you shouldn't have been touched by it. But you have been. So now you're important. Amara, more than you know. Important how? He reached up, tucking a curl behind her ear. The gentleness of the gesture contrasted sharply with the violence she'd witnessed moments ago. Get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow. He left before she could respond, but she watched from her window as his car remained parked outside her building for the next 2 hours, not leaving until 2 a.m. Guarding her, and despite all the red flags, all the warning signs, all the logic screaming that she should quit tomorrow and never look back, Amara felt safer than she ever had in her life, because Kang Min-jae, whatever he was, had made her his to protect, and something about that felt devastatingly right. The next morning, things were different. There was an additional security guard posted near her desk. Jae-sung appeared whenever she needed to leave the building, and Min-jae watched her constantly, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he looked away. At lunch, she confronted him. I need to understand what's happening, she said, closing his office door behind her. Those men last night, they knew who you were. They knew I worked for you. What aren't you telling me? Min-jae was silent for a long moment. Then he stood, crossing to the window. What do you know about my business, Amara? Import and export, international trade. And what does that mean to you? She frowned. Shipping goods between countries, managing logistics, customs, distribution. That's what I want it to mean. He turned to face her. And on paper, that's exactly what Kang Enterprises does. We have legitimate operations, real contracts, legal shipments, on paper. On paper, his eyes met hers. But you're not stupid, Amara. You've seen things that don't add up. The security, the men who visit, the amounts of money moving through accounts. You've noticed, haven't you? Her mouth went dry. I didn't want to. I know. And I've tried to keep you separate from the parts of my business that are less legitimate. But after last night, that's no longer possible. Park Joon-ho knows who you are. He knows you matter to me, and that makes you a target. Who is Park Joon-ho? A rival. Someone who wants what I have and will use any leverage to get it. And I'm leverage. You're more than that. He stepped closer. But yes, because I've been careless, because I've let my feelings show, because every time you walk into a room, I can't stop watching you, and anyone paying attention has noticed. Her heart raced. Your feelings. Don't pretend you don't know, Amara. His voice was rough. Don't pretend you haven't felt this between us. I've tried to keep my distance, tried to maintain professional boundaries. But the truth is, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment you walked into my office 6 months ago and told me you don't scare easily. Minjae, I'm not good for you. My world is dark and violent, and there are things I've done that would horrify you. But I need you to understand something. He was close now, close enough that she could see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. You're not leaving this job. Not because I won't allow it, but because leaving makes you more vulnerable. Park knows your name, knows where you live. If you're not under my protection, you're exposed. So you stay. You let me keep you safe. And maybe, his hand came up, hovering near her face, but not quite touching. Maybe you let me be honest about what I feel. What do you feel? Everything. The word was raw. Everything I shouldn't. Everything that's dangerous. Everything that could get us both killed. She should have run. Should have demanded answers about his less legitimate business. Should have called the police, or quit on the spot, or done any number of rational things. Instead, she leaned into his almost touch. Then show me. His control snapped. He kissed her like a man drowning, his hands sliding into her hair, pulling her against him with a desperation that stole her breath. Amara responded without thinking, her hands fisting in his expensive shirt, kissing him back with 6 months of denied attraction pouring through her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minjae pressed his forehead to hers. Jaggi, he whispered, the Korean word for honey, for darling, for mine. What does that mean? She asked, even though some part of her knew. It means you're in danger, he said roughly, and I'm the most selfish bastard alive because I'm not letting you go. The intercom buzzed. Jae-sung's voice crackled through. Hyungnim, we have a situation. Reality crashed back. Minjae stepped away, his expression shuddering. We'll talk more tonight. For now, stay close to security. Don't leave the building without telling me. Promise me. I promise. But as she returned to her desk, Amara realized she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. She'd kissed her boss. Her dangerous criminal boss, who just admitted to having feelings for her, and God help her, she wanted to do it again. The truth came out piece by piece over the next 2 weeks. Minjae started being more honest about his business. Not everything, she suspected, there were things he'd never tell her, but enough. The import-export company was real, but it was also a front for less legal activities. Money laundering, smuggling, things she didn't want to examine too closely. My father built this organization, he told her one night in his office, the city glowing below them. He came from Korea with nothing and created an empire. It's not all illegal. Most of our money comes from legitimate sources now, but the foundation was built on questionable activities. And you inherited it. I inherited the responsibility, the loyalty of the men who served my father, the enemies he made. His jaw tightened. When he died, I was 25, too young to lead, but I did it anyway. I made the organization stronger, more profitable, and yes, more dangerous. How did your father die? Rivals thought he'd gone soft, thought showing mercy was weakness. They killed him to make a point. Minjae's eyes were distant. I learned from his mistake. I don't show mercy. I don't go soft. I control everything and everyone around me because that's how you survive in this world. Is that why you've been keeping me at arm's length? Because you thought getting close was weakness? Yes. He looked at her then, and the vulnerability in his expression made her chest ache. But you've undone every lesson I learned, Amara. You make me want things I can't have. You make me feel things I've spent years burying, and that terrifies me. She crossed to him, taking his hands. I'm terrified too, but I'm also tired of pretending I don't feel this. You should run from me. Probably, but I don't scare easily, remember? He smiled at that, a real smile, rare and beautiful. Then he kissed her again, slower this time, less desperate, more devastating. That night, she stayed late at the office. Not to work, but because leaving Min-jae felt impossible. They ordered food and talked for hours, sharing pieces of themselves they'd kept hidden. She told him about growing up between two worlds, Nigerian and American, never quite fitting in either, about the pressure to be perfect because her parents had sacrificed so much, about feeling guilty for wanting things that were just for her. He told her about Korea, about the culture he'd left behind, but never forgotten, about his mother's disappointment in the path he'd chosen, about his younger sister who didn't know the full extent of what he did because he'd worked hard to keep her innocent. I send her money every month, he said. She thinks I'm a successful businessman, and technically I am, but she doesn't know about the rest. Do you ever wish you could go back, choose a different path? Every day. But I'm in too deep now. The only way out of this life is death. The words chilled her. But when he pulled her into his arms, when she felt his heart beating against her cheek, she pushed the fear away. She was falling for him. Complicated, dangerous, beautiful him, and there was no going back. A month after the flowers, after that first explosive revelation, Amara moved between two worlds. Her days were spent in the office, maintaining the fiction that Kang Enterprises was a normal company. But now, she saw the reality beneath the surface. The coded conversations, the way Min-jae's mood shifted when certain calls came through. The men who came and went, speaking in Korean too rapid for her to follow. Her evenings were spent with Min-jae, usually at his penthouse. He'd insisted on moving her there temporarily after another incident, someone following her on the subway. She'd protested, but the fear in his eyes had convinced her. His place was as minimalist as his office, all clean lines and expensive furniture, but she'd started adding touches of warmth, a throw blanket in bright Nigerian print, her favourite books on his shelf. The smell of her cooking filling the sterile kitchen. Tonight, she was making jollof rice, the recipe her grandmother had taught her. Min-jae appeared in the kitchen doorway, watching her work. He did that often, just watched, like he was memorizing her. What are you making? He asked. Jollof rice. It's a West African dish. Every country claims theirs is best, but obviously Nigerian jollof is superior. Obviously. She could hear the smile in his voice. Can I help? You want to help cook? I want to learn. Teach me. So she did. He was a terrible cook. Too precise, too controlled, couldn't feel the rhythm of it, but he tried, and watching him carefully dice tomatoes with the same focus he brought to business deals made her fall a little more in love. Love. The word settled in her chest, heavy and terrifying and undeniable. The smell is incredible, Min-jae said, standing behind her as she stirred the rice. His arms came around her waist, and she leaned back into him. Wait until you taste it. I already know I'll love it. You made it. She turned in his arms, tilting her face up. That's not how taste works, isn't it? His hand came up, cupping her cheek. Everything about you is perfect to me, Amara. Your cooking, your laugh, the way you argue with me about scheduling, the way you refuse to be intimidated by my world. His thumb traced her lower lip. The way you look at me like I'm more than the monster everyone else sees. You're not a monster. I've killed people, Jaggy. I've done terrible things. If you knew, then tell me all of it. Stop protecting me from the truth and let me decide if I can handle it. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned off the stove and took her hand, leading her to the living room. They sat on the couch, the city lights sprawling below the floor-to-ceiling windows, and he told her everything, the violence, the blood on his hands, the men he'd killed, not in rage, but with calculated coldness, the organization he controlled through fear and loyalty, the money laundering, the smuggling, the grey and black market operations that funded his empire. He told her about his father's death, watching it happen when he was barely an adult, about becoming the kind of leader who never shows weakness because weakness gets you killed, about the loneliness of power. When he finished, his voice was raw. Now you know. So tell me, Amara, can you still look at me the same way? She took his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. I see you, Minjae, not just the things you've done, but the man who sends money to his sister, who keeps Nigerian snacks in his desk for me, who hasn't slept properly in weeks because he's terrified something will happen to me, who's trying so hard to be good, even though his world doesn't allow it. She kissed him softly. I see all of you, and I'm not running. You should. Stop telling me what I should do. I'm a grown woman, and I choose you. Something broke in him. He kissed her desperately, hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she agreed breathlessly. But you have me anyway. That night, they crossed the final line they'd been dancing around for months. He carried her to his bedroom, their bedroom now, though they hadn't spoken the words aloud, laid her on his bed like she was something precious, looked at her with such raw need that she felt it in her bones. Are you sure? He asked, even as his hands trembled against her skin. Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine, Amara. Completely. I'm already yours. I have been since the parking garage. Maybe since that first interview. She pulled him down to her. Now show me how you love me. And he did. His hands worshipped her, tracing every curve, learning every place that made her gasp. He kissed her skin like it was something sacred, murmuring in Korean against her collarbone, her breasts, the soft skin of her stomach. Words she didn't understand but felt in her soul. When he finally pushed inside her, they both went still. His forehead pressed to hers, his breath ragged. Sarange, he whispered. Do you know what that means? No, she lied, because she wanted to hear him say it. I love you. God help me. I love you more than my own life. She wrapped her legs around him, pulling him deeper. Then love me. No more holding back. He moved then, and it was perfect, devastating. The kind of connection that rewrote her understanding of intimacy. This wasn't just physical. It was everything. Trust and vulnerability. And two people choosing each other, despite impossible odds. When they finally shattered together, his name on her lips and hers on his, Amara knew there was no going back. She'd given herself to a dangerous man, a criminal, someone whose world could destroy her. But as they lay tangled together in the aftermath, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her skin, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. "Ne," she murmured against his chest. "That's what my mother calls me. It means dear one." "Ne," he repeated, the Igbo word careful on his Korean tongue. "I like that. What do you call someone you love in Igbo?" "Nwanem, my dear one, my heart." "Nwanem," he said, pulling her closer. "That's what you are, my heart, the only good thing in my dark world." She kissed his chest, right over his heart. "Then let me be your light." For a moment, wrapped in each other, they believed it was possible. The next morning brought reality crashing back. Amara woke to an empty bed and the sound of Minjae speaking rapid Korean in the other room, his tone sharp. She pulled on one of his shirts and padded out to find him on the phone, pacing in front of the windows. His face was a mask of cold fury. When he saw her, something softened. He ended the call abruptly and crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "Good morning, Yagi." "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "Minji." "Business complications." "I'll handle it." He kissed her forehead. "Are you hungry?" "I'll make coffee." She let it go because she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched when he thought she wasn't looking. He was protecting her again, keeping her separate from his world. Later that morning at the office, the flowers arrived, and everything changed. We're only halfway through this dangerous love story, and things are about to get so much more intense. If you're hooked, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Would you risk your family for forbidden love? Let us know, because Amara's about to face that exact choice. The aftermath of the flowers was chaos barely contained beneath a veneer of control. Min-jae had Amara brought to a safe house within the hour, a nondescript apartment in Manhattan, with security she couldn't see but knew was there. Jae-sung and Marcus, Min-jae's half-Korean, half-black head of security, stayed with her while Min-jae handled the situation. She didn't see him for 3 days. On the 4th day, he appeared at the safe house at 2 a.m. covered in blood that she prayed wasn't his. "Chineke," she gasped, rushing to him. "Are you hurt?" "Not my blood." His voice was flat, empty. "It's handled. Park won't send flowers again." She didn't ask what that meant, didn't want to know. But she helped him into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and when he just stood there, like he didn't know how to move, she stripped his clothes off and guided him under the water. She washed the blood away, gentle and methodical. His hands were shaking. "I killed him," Min-jae said quietly. "Park, I killed him myself. Wanted him to know it was me. Wanted him to understand what happens when you threaten what's mine." Amara's hands stilled on his chest. "Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I'm horrified? I am. But I'm also relieved you're alive, that I'm safe, that he can't hurt us anymore." She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. "I see you, Min-jae. The blood on your hands doesn't change that I love you." He collapsed against her then, forehead on her shoulder, and she held him as the water ran cold. This was the reality of loving a dangerous man. Blood and violence and moral compromises. But as she dried him off and led him to bed, as he pulled her close and whispered broken Korean against her neck, she made her choice. She chose him, even knowing the cost. A week later, Min-jae insisted she meet his organization properly. "They need to know you're not just someone I'm protecting," he said. "You're my woman. That makes you untouchable." So she found herself in an underground meeting room that looked like something out of a movie. Concrete walls, a long table, and a dozen dangerous-looking Korean men who all stood when Min-jae entered. He spoke in Korean, his tone commanding. Then he switched to English, his hand on her lower back. "This is Amara Okafor. She's mine. Anyone who threatens her answers to me. Anyone who disrespects her answers to me. Park is eliminated. The threat is neutralized, but there will be others. So I'm making this clear. She is under the organization's protection. Understood?" A moment of silence. Then Jae-sung stood. "She has my loyalty, Hyungnim." Marcus stood next, and mine. One by one, the men stood. Not all of them. 2 remained seated, their expressions hard. Min-jae noticed. "If you can't accept this, leave now. I won't hold it against you. But if you stay, you accept her. There's no middle ground." The 2 men left. Later, in the car, Amara was quiet. Min-jae noticed. "What's wrong?" "I just cost you 2 men. I lost 2 employees who didn't understand loyalty. That's their problem, not yours." He took her hand, kissing her knuckles. "You're worth more than 100 men like them." But the words haunted her. She was affecting his business, making him vulnerable. Was her love worth that cost? The question became more pressing when her family got involved. Her cousin Chi-Chi called, excited. "Amara, your mum mentioned you're seeing someone. Finally, tell me everything." She'd been avoiding this conversation. "It's complicated. Is he Nigerian?" "No. He's Korean." Pause. "Oh, okay. How are your parents taking it?" "They don't know yet." "Not really." "Girl, you need to tell them before someone else does. You know how our community is." Chi-Chi was right. So Amara arranged for Min-jae to meet her parents at their home in Queens the following Sunday. She'd prepped him extensively. "My father is traditional. very protective. Let him take the lead in conversation. Don't mention, she gestured vaguely, the business, just the legitimate parts. I can do traditional, Min-jae assured her. He showed up in a perfectly tailored suit with expensive wine and flowers for her mother, his manner respectful and formal. Chief Okafor answered the door, his large frame filling the doorway. His eyes swept over Min-jae, expression unreadable. Mr. Okafor, thank you for inviting me into your home. Min-jae bowed slightly, not too much, just enough to show respect without seeming subservient. Chief Okafor grunted. Come in. Her mother, Grace, was warmer. Welcome, Mr. Kang. These flowers are beautiful. New. Thank you, Mrs. Okafor. Please call me Min-jae. Dinner was tense. Grace had cooked traditional Nigerian food, egusi soup with fufu, fried plantains, and suya. Min-jae ate everything without hesitation, complimenting each dish sincerely. You like Nigerian food? Chief Okafor asked, skeptical. I'm learning to appreciate it. Amara has been teaching me about her culture. It's important to understand where she comes from. And where do you come from, Mr. Kang? Busan, South Korea. I moved to New York 7 years ago to expand my father's business. Import and export, Amara said. Yes, sir, international trade. We work primarily with Asian and European markets. Chief Okafor's eyes narrowed. And you make enough money from that to afford that suit, that watch? Abirji, Amara started, but Min-jae touched her hand gently. It's a fair question. Yes, sir. My father built the company from nothing. I've been fortunate to expand on his success. Fortunate? Chief Okafor didn't sound convinced. What are your intentions with my daughter? Min-jae met his eyes. To make her happy, sir. To respect her, to honor her culture and family, to protect her. Protect her from what? The question hung heavy. Min-jae chose his words carefully. The world can be dangerous, Mr. Okafor. I'm in a position to ensure Amara's safety and comfort. That's all I meant. My daughter doesn't need a man to protect her. She's strong, independent. I agree completely. Amara is the strongest person I know, but that doesn't mean she shouldn't be cared for. Chief Okafor studied him for a long moment. Then he turned to Amara. Can I speak to you privately? In the kitchen, her father's warmth disappeared. There's something wrong with this man, Amara. I don't trust him. He's a good man, Dad. No good man gets that rich, that young from import, export. What is he really doing? Drugs? Money laundering? Her stomach clenched. You're being paranoid. Am I? Look me in the eye and tell me you know everything about his business. Tell me you're not involved in something dangerous. She couldn't meet his eyes, couldn't lie to her father's face. His expression hardened. That's what I thought. Amara, listen to me. This man is trouble. I can see it. Your mother can see it. End this before it destroys you. I love him. Love isn't enough when it comes with danger. You think you're special, that he'll protect you. Men like him bring destruction. And when it comes, you'll lose everything. Your career, your reputation, your family. Is that a threat? It's a warning from a father who loves you. They returned to the dining room. The rest of the evening was strained. When they left, Grace hugged Amara tightly, whispering, Nen, be careful. Your father isn't wrong. In the car, Min-jae was quiet. Finally, he said, He hates me. He doesn't know you. He knows enough, and he's right to be concerned. I am dangerous. I will bring complications into your life. He looked at her. Maybe he's right. Maybe you should... Don't finish that sentence. Don't tell me to leave you. I'm tired of everyone telling me what I should do. He smiled slightly. You're fierce when you're angry. I'm Nigerian. We don't back down. Good, because I'm not letting you go, even if I should. But her father's words haunted her. Men like him bring destruction. The destruction came 2 months later. Amara and Min-jae had settled into a rhythm. She lived at his penthouse now. her apartment given up. They worked together during the day, maintained the fiction of professional distance at the office. At night, they were just themselves, cooking together, learning each other's languages, navigating the impossible space between two worlds. Min Jae was teaching her Korean. She'd gotten good at basic phrases, loved the way his face lit up when she got pronunciation right. "Say it again," he'd say, lying in bed with her head on his chest. "Saranghae." Perfect again. "Saranghae, Min Jae." He'd kiss her then, slow and deep. "I love you too, Nini." They celebrated Korean holidays, Chuseok with its ancestral rituals that he explained carefully. Showing her the photos of his father, she introduced him to Nigerian traditions, taking him to her church community where they stared, but her mother's presence kept them civil. It wasn't perfect. They argued about his overprotectiveness, about her refusal to fully accept his security measures, about the line between care and control, but they always came back together, unable to stay apart. Marcus became an unexpected ally. During one of Min Jae's longer business trips, Marcus stayed at the penthouse, ostensibly for security, but really for company. "You're good for him," Marcus said one evening while they waited for Min Jae to return. "How so?" "He smiles now, laughs sometimes. I've worked for Hyungnim for 5 years and I've never seen him like this. You make him human." "He's always been human." "Has he? In this world, you shut down or you die. Min Jae shut down years ago. But you," Marcus smiled, "you turned the lights back on. His world killed his father. Doesn't that worry him? Every day. Why do you think he's so obsessed with protecting you? He knows the cost of love in this life, and he's terrified of losing you the way he lost his father. Then why stay in it? Why not leave, go legitimate, start over?" Marcus's expression grew serious. "Because there's no leaving. You're in until you're dead. The only question is how long you can survive." The words chilled her, but when Min Jae came home that night, tired and stressed, and collapsed into her arms with a relieved sigh, she pushed the fear away. She'd chosen this, chosen him, and she'd face whatever came. What came was an attack she didn't see coming. She'd been visiting her parents, against Min Jae's preference, but with his reluctant permission. Marcus drove her, staying in the car while she went inside for dinner. The evening was tense. Her father barely spoke to her. Her mother tried to maintain normalcy, but the strain showed. "When will you come to your senses?" Chief Okafor finally said over dessert. "When will you leave that man and find someone appropriate?" "Appropriate?" Amara's temper flared. "You mean Nigerian?" "I mean someone who doesn't live in shadows. Someone your mother and I can be proud to call family." "You don't even know him." "I know enough. I've asked around, Amara, about Kang Min Jae, and what I've heard." He shook his head. "You're involved with a criminal. Do you understand that? A criminal?" Grace gasped. "Chineke, tell me it's not true." Amara couldn't lie, not to her mother. "His business has complicated aspects." "Complicated?" Chief Okafor's voice rose. "He's in the Mafia, Amara, the Korean Mafia. I've heard the stories. Violence, murder, and you're living with him like it's normal. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You've thrown away everything, your education, your values, your family, for a gangster. I haven't thrown you away. You're pushing me away because you can't accept my choice. Your choice is going to get you killed." The shouting escalated. Grace was crying. Amara was shaking with fury and hurt. And then, gunfire. The windows shattered. Everyone hit the floor. More shots, rapid and precise. Amara's ears rang. She could hear her mother screaming, her father shouting, and underneath it all, the sound of returning fire. Marcus burst through the door. "Stay down!" It was over in seconds, but felt like hours. When silence fell, Marcus was bleeding from his shoulder. 2 bodies lay in the street outside, and Chief Okafor was staring at the destruction of his home with horror. "What have you done?" he whispered, looking at Amara. "What have you brought to our family?" Min-jae arrived minutes later with an entire convoy. He took in the scene, the broken windows, the blood, Marcus wounded, Amara shaking on the floor, and his expression went dead cold. Jaggy! He crossed to her, pulling her up, checking for injuries with frantic hands. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Marcus. We'll be fine. It's a flesh wound. He looked at her parents. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, I'm sorry you were caught in this. My men will repair the damage. Get out! Chief Okafor's voice was quiet, but absolute. Get out of my house. Abeoji, please, Amara started. Not you, him. This criminal who brings violence into our home. Min-jae's jaw clenched. Sir, I understand you're upset. You understand nothing. You've put my daughter in danger. You've brought your war to my doorstep. My neighbors have seen this. My community will know, and you think money can fix it? Chief Okafor stepped forward, fury radiating off him. Listen to me carefully, Mr. Kang. You will leave my daughter alone. You will let her come home, and you will never contact her again. If you truly care about her, you'll let her go before your world destroys her. That's not your decision to make, Min-jae said quietly. It's my decision, Amara said. Both men turned to her. She was shaking, but standing. And I'm choosing... Don't, Chief Okafor interrupted. Don't you dare choose him over your family. We have sacrificed everything for you. Everything. We came to this country with nothing so you could have opportunities. We worked ourselves to exhaustion so you could get an education. We gave you everything. And now you'll throw it away for a criminal? He's not just... Yes, he is. Look around, Amara. Bullet holes in our walls. Blood in our street. This is the life you're choosing. Violence and danger and death. Is that what you want? Is he worth losing your family? The ultimatum hung in the air. Grace spoke quietly, tears streaming down her face. Amara, Enni, your father is right. I love you, but I can't watch you destroy yourself. If you stay with this man, you can't come back here. We can't be part of this. Choose. You're asking me to choose between you and him. We're asking you to choose life over death, Chief Okafor said. Choose family over foolishness. Choose safety over selfishness. Min-jae touched her arm. Amara, maybe they're right. Maybe you should... She spun on him. Don't you dare tell me to leave you. Everyone keeps deciding what's best for me. But it's my life. My choice. She looked at her parents, tears blurring her vision. I love you, both of you, but I love him too. And I won't apologize for it. I won't choose one over the other because that's not fair. You're asking me to cut out a piece of my heart. Then you've made your choice, Chief Okafor said. His voice broke. Go with him, but don't come back. Not until you've left him. Not until you've come to your senses. Chief, please. Grace reached for him, but he shook his head. No, she's chosen. She'll have to live with it. Min-jae took Amara's hand. We should go. She let him lead her out, but she looked back once. Her mother was crying, her father's expression stony, and she realized she might have just lost her family, for love, for him, for a choice that might destroy her. In the car, she broke down. Min-jae held her, his own hands shaking. I'm sorry. Jaggy, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. You should go back. Tell them you'll leave me. I'll make sure you're safe from a distance, but you need your family. Stop telling me what I need. She pulled away, furious through her tears. You're just like them, deciding what's best for me without asking. I chose you, Min-jae. I chose you. Don't take that away from me by pushing me away. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing, that I can handle this, that I'm strong enough to choose my own path, even if it's hard. He stared at her, something breaking in his expression. Then he pulled her back into his arms and held her as she sobbed. Okay, he whispered. Okay, I won't push you away. I promise. But the damage was done. Her family's ultimatum hung over them like a guillotine. Choose us or him, and she'd chosen him. The next weeks were the hardest of her life. Her mother called once, crying, "Please, Amara, come home. Leave him. We'll forgive you." "I can't, Mama. I love him." Love isn't enough when it comes with death. Chi-Chi was the only family member who still spoke to her. "Your dad is being ridiculous," she said over FaceTime. "But also, girl, bullets at the family dinner? That's intense even for a telenovela." "I know, I don't know how to fix this." "Maybe you can't. Maybe you just have to live with your choice and hope they come around eventually." Min-jae threw himself into work, trying to eliminate any remaining threats. His organization tightened security. Jae-sung posted permanent guards at the building. Marcus, recovered from his wound, never left Amara's side when Min-jae wasn't there. But something had shifted. Min-jae was more distant, more controlled. He still held her at night, still whispered saranghae, but there was a wall up she couldn't break through. "Talk to me," she said one night after another silent dinner. "About what?" "About what's going on in your head. You've been distant since the attack." He was quiet for a long time. "I'm trying to figure out how to let you go." Her heart stopped. "What?" "Your father was right, Amara. I'm destroying your life. You've lost your family because of me, nearly been killed. How much more will you sacrifice? How much more can I take from you before there's nothing left?" "You're not taking anything. I'm choosing to throw your life away for me, and I can't." His voice cracked. "I can't be worth that. I'm not worth losing your family." She crossed to him, taking his face in her hands. "Let me decide what you're worth. Let me choose without you making decisions for me. I love you too much to keep destroying you. Then love me enough to trust me. Trust that I know what I'm doing. Trust that I'm strong enough to handle this." She kissed him desperately. "Don't leave me, Min-jae. Everyone else has. Don't you do it too." He broke then, pulling her against him, holding her like he'd never let go. "I won't. I'm sorry. I won't." They made love that night like they were trying to erase the distance, to prove they still had each other even if they had nothing else. It was desperate and fierce and heartbreaking. Afterward, tangled together, he whispered, "You're my heart, Nine. If I lose you, I lose everything. Then don't let go. Never." But she could feel him slipping away, feel the weight of guilt crushing him, and she didn't know how to stop it. 2 weeks later, he made his decision. Amara came home from a rare lunch with Chi-Chi to find Min-jae sitting in the dark penthouse, a bottle of soju open on the table. "Min-jae, we need to talk." The words every person dreads. She sat across from him, heart pounding. "Okay, I've been thinking about your family, about the danger, about what I'm asking you to sacrifice." He met her eyes and she saw the resolution there, the end. "I can't do this to you anymore." "Min-jae, don't. Listen to me, please." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I love you more than I've ever loved anything, but love means wanting what's best for the other person, even if it kills you, and what's best for you is not me. You don't get to decide that. Your father was right. I bring destruction. You've lost your family, nearly died multiple times. How long before your luck runs out? How long before I get you killed?" His voice broke. "I can't live with that. I can't watch you sacrifice everything for me and then lose you anyway." Tears streamed down her face. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to go back to your family. Tell them you left me. I'll protect you from a distance. Park is dead, but I'll make sure no one else ever touches you. You'll be safe. You can rebuild your relationship with your parents. Find someone appropriate, someone who won't get you killed." "I don't want someone else. I want you, and I want you alive and happy, even if it means alive and happy without me." He stood, and she saw his eyes were wet. "I've arranged for an apartment in your name. paid off your student loans, set up an account with enough money that you'll never have to worry. Consider it severance. Severance? The word was broken. You're firing me from your life. I'm setting you free. He crossed to her, pulling her up, holding her face in his hands. Go home, Amara. Go back to your family. Live a normal life. Forget about me. I could never forget you. Then remember me as the man who loved you enough to let you go. He kissed her. It tasted like goodbye, like 7 months of love and hope and impossible dreams dying all at once. When he pulled away, he was crying too. Saranghae ni, always. Then he called Jae-sung and had her escorted out. She screamed at him the whole way, begged, pleaded. But Min-jae stood in his penthouse doorway, face carved from stone, watching her leave, and didn't follow. The next 2 weeks were hell. Amara moved into the apartment he'd arranged, couldn't bring herself to go back to her parents yet. Chi-Chi stayed with her, holding her while she cried. He loves you, Chi-Chi said. He's just an idiot. He's trying to protect me by breaking your heart. Some protection. She called him. He never answered. Showed up at the office. Security turned her away. Jae-sung met her once, his expression apologetic. Hyungnim is trying to do the right thing, he said. The right thing is staying together. Maybe, but he thinks you'll die if you stay with him, and that's something he can't survive. Jae-sung paused. For what it's worth, he's a mess. Hasn't slept, barely eats, just works and stares at his phone, waiting for you to call so he can torture himself by not answering. Then tell him to stop being a martyr and come get me. I can't. Only you can fix this, but not by begging. He'll just push you away harder. You have to show him you're serious, that you choose this life with all its complications, with open eyes. How? I don't know, but figure it out fast, because he's spiraling, and I don't know how much longer before he does something stupid. She left more confused than when she arrived. Meanwhile, her mother reached out. Amara, I heard you left him. He left me, Mama. Pushed me away to protect me. And you're miserable. Yes, Grace sighed. Come home, Nin. Let me make you soup. Let your mother take care of you. So she went. And her father was there, and the judgment she expected wasn't in his eyes, just concern. I didn't want this, Chief Okafor said quietly. I wanted you safe, not heartbroken. I'm safe and heartbroken. Congratulations. Don't be bitter. We were trying to help. By forcing me to choose, by making ultimatums. She shook her head. You taught me to be strong, to know my worth, to stand up for what I believe in, but when I do that, you punish me for it. Her father flinched. Grace's hand found his. Your father and I have been talking, Grace said, and we realize we made mistakes. We were afraid, but fear made us cruel, made us force choices that weren't ours to make. I was wrong, Chief Okafor said. The words came hard. I've been thinking about when I met your mother. My family disapproved, said she was too modern, too independent, wouldn't make a proper wife. I married her anyway, chose her over their blessing, and they disowned me for 2 years. Amara stared. I never knew that. Because we reconciled eventually. Because love won out. But I forgot that lesson. Forgot that sometimes you have to fight for what matters. He looked at her. I see now that Kang Min-jae matters to you, and more than that, I see he loves you, a man who pushes you away to keep you safe. That's not control, that's sacrifice. So what are you saying? I'm saying if you love him, truly love him, then fight for him. Don't let him push you away out of misplaced nobility, and if you bring him back, Chief Okafor took a deep breath. We'll try. I can't promise I'll ever fully approve, but I can promise I won't make you choose again. Grace nodded. Your father's right. We raised you to be strong, so be strong now. Go get your man. But his world is dangerous. Life is dangerous, Nan. The only question is whether you face it alone, or with someone who'd die for you. Grace touched her face. I married your father, knowing his family might never accept me. It was hard, but it was worth it. If Min-jae is worth it to you, then fight. Something broke open in Amara's chest. He thinks he's protecting me by leaving. Then show him he's wrong. Show him that loving you means trusting you to make your own choices, even the dangerous ones. Chief Okafor stood. And Amara, when you bring him back, because I think you will, tell him he's invited to dinner. Properly this time. Without the gunfire. She hugged her parents, crying, "Thank you. Thank us by being happy," Grace said. "That's all we ever wanted." Amara spent 3 days planning. Marcus was surprisingly helpful when she tracked him down. "Youngnim is barely functioning," he admitted. "Just work and whiskey and staring at your photo on his phone. It's pathetic." "Good, he should suffer," Marcus grinned. "That's the spirit. What's your plan?" "I'm going to make him face me. No security, no walls. Just him and me and the truth." "He won't make it. Easy." "I don't need easy. I need him." Marcus told her where Min-jae would be, visiting his father's memorial. It was a Korean cemetery in New Jersey, quiet and isolated. Min-jae went every month without fail. Amara showed up on the day Marcus indicated. She found him kneeling in front of a polished headstone, speaking quiet Korean. When he heard footsteps, he turned, and the hope and pain that flashed across his face when he saw her nearly broke her. "Amara, what are you doing here?" "Coming for you." She crossed to him, not bothering to hide her anger. "Did you really think pushing me away would work? That I'd just accept it and move on? You should. Stop telling me what I should do." She hauled him to his feet. "You made a choice for both of us without asking me. You decided you knew what was best, just like my father, just like everyone else who thinks they can control my life. I was trying to protect you." "I don't need protection, Min-jae. I need partnership. I need you to trust that I know the risks and I'm choosing them anyway. That I'm strong enough to handle your world. That I'm not some fragile thing that needs to be locked away in safety. You almost died, and I'd almost die again if it meant having you. Don't you understand? I'd rather have a year with you in danger than a lifetime safe without you. That's my choice. Mine, not yours." He stared at her, something cracking in his expression. "I can't lose you. I can't watch you die because of me." "Then don't push me away, because that's the only way you'll lose me. By choosing for me, by not trusting me." She stepped closer, taking his face in her hands. "I love you, you idiot. I love your darkness and your danger and your bloody hands. I love all of it, and I'm not going anywhere. Your family gave me their blessing. Not approval, not yet, but acceptance. They told me to fight for you. So here I am, fighting." Her voice broke. "Don't make me fight alone, Min-jae. Fight with me. Choose me the way I'm choosing you." He pulled her against him suddenly, face buried in her neck. She felt him shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. Thought I was saving you, but I was just a coward, scared of losing you, so I pushed you away first." "That's not love. That's fear." I know, and I'm done being afraid." He pulled back, eyes fierce. "If you'll have me, knowing what I am, what my world is, then I'm yours, completely. No more pushing away, no more deciding for you. Promise." "I promise. On my father's grave, I promise." She kissed him then, fierce and claiming. He responded with equal intensity, hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Sarange Amara, Nwanem, my heart. Sarange Min-jae, now take me home. Our home," he corrected. "From now on it's ours. Everything I have is yours. I just want you. You have me. Always." They left the cemetery together, hands linked. There would be more challenges, more danger, more complicated navigations between their worlds. But they'd face them together. 6 months later, things weren't perfect. But they were theirs. Min-jae was legitimizing more of his business. transitioning away from the most dangerous operations. It would take years, but he was trying, for her, for them. Amara returned to the office as his executive assistant, though everyone knew she was more than that. She also started a non-profit helping immigrant families navigate legal and financial systems, using some of Min Jae's money for good. Her parents came to dinner once a month. Chief Okafor and Min Jae would never be close, but there was grudging respect. Grace had taken to calling Min Jae son, which made him tear up every time. Chi-Chi was planning their engagement party before they were even officially engaged, and the organization, Min Jae's family, had accepted her fully. Even Jae-sung called her sister now. They celebrated both cultures, Korean holidays and Nigerian celebrations, jollof rice and kimchi in the same refrigerator, Afrobeats and K-pop in their mixed playlists, a wedding being planned that would honor both traditions. It wasn't easy. There were still threats. Min Jae's world didn't forgive easily. There were arguments about risk and security and control. There were nights when Amara wondered if she'd made the right choice, but then Min Jae would come home, exhausted from keeping them safe, and collapse into her arms with a relieved sigh. And she knew this was right. He was right. They were right. 1 year after the flowers, Min Jae proposed. Nothing fancy. Just them in their kitchen while she was cooking, teaching him to make egusi soup. Him terrible at it, but trying anyway. "Marry me," he said suddenly. She turned, ladle in hand. "What?" He got down on one knee right there on the kitchen floor. "I know it's complicated. I know your father might never fully approve. I know I'm asking you to tie yourself to a dangerous man, but marry me anyway, because I can't imagine life without you, because you're my light in darkness, because I love you more than I love my own life." He pulled out a ring, beautiful, understated, perfect. "Marry me, Nee. Make me the luckiest bastard alive." She was crying. "You're asking me while I'm cooking. I'm asking you when you're most yourself, fierce and capable and making something beautiful out of nothing. That's who you are. That's who I love." He smiled. "So what do you say? Will you marry this reformed criminal and make him a better man? You're already a good man, Min Jae. You just needed someone to see it." She pulled him up, kissed him softly. Yes, I'll marry you." He slid the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. "Saranghae, Nuwanem," she whispered. "Saranghae, Jaggi," he whispered back. "Now and always." The wedding was small, intimate, perfect. They held it at a cultural centre that could accommodate both traditions. Grace had helped plan it, working with Min Jae's mother, who flew in from Korea, still disapproving but softening. The ceremony was a blend, Korean pyebaek, bowing to elders, Min Jae's mother and Amara's parents seated together, Nigerian wine-carrying tradition, Amara searching for Min Jae among the guests, finding him, offering wine. She wore white with a Nigerian Geely head wrap. He wore a traditional hanbok. The colours were both their cultures woven together. Marcus walked her down the aisle alongside Grace. Chief Okafor had wanted to, but the symbolism of her mother, who'd supported her, felt right. Jae-sung was Min Jae's best man. Chi-Chi was maid of honor. The vows were in 3 languages, English, Korean, and Igbo. Promises spoken to each other and to their families. "I vow to honor your culture as I honor mine," Amara said, "to stand beside you in danger and in peace, to be your partner, not your possession, to love you fiercely and freely. Nwanim, my heart, you're mine and I'm yours. I vow to protect you without controlling you," Min Jae said, "to trust your strength as I trust my own, to build a life where both our worlds can exist together, to choose you every day, no matter the cost. Nene, my light. I'm yours always. Saranghae." When they kissed, the room erupted. Korean guests cheered. Nigerian guests ululated. Chi-Chi whistled. The reception was chaos. Jollof rice and Korean BBQ, Afrobeats and K-pop, dancing that mixed traditional and modern. Chief Okafor actually smiled when Min-jae asked for a private word. Later, Min-jae told her what was said. "Your father gave me his blessing, properly this time. Said if I hurt you, he'd find a way to kill me, even if it meant facing my organization." Amara laughed. "That sounds like him. I promised him I'd spend every day making you happy. And I will, Jaggy. I swear it." I know. That night, in their hotel suite before they left for their honeymoon, a mix, Seoul and Lagos, both homelands, Min-jae pulled her close. "A year ago, I thought love was weakness, that it would destroy me, but you taught me something." "What's that?" "Love isn't weakness. Fear is, and I'm done being afraid." He kissed her softly. "Thank you for fighting for us, for not giving up when I pushed you away. Thank you for being worth fighting for." They made love as husband and wife, slow and reverent. Two people from different worlds who'd chosen to build a new world together, who'd faced danger and family opposition and their own fears, and won. Later, wrapped in each other, Amara thought about the flowers that had started everything, the jealous explosion, the danger, the choice. She'd choose it all again, every time. 1 year later, the flowers arrived on a Tuesday, just like they had 2 years ago. But this time, when Amara saw them on her desk, she smiled. Blood-red roses and white chrysanthemums, beautiful and no longer threatening. The card read, "From your jealous husband." "Just because." "Saranghae," she laughed, pulling out her phone to call Min-jae. "Did you get them?" he asked immediately. "I did. They're beautiful, but you know I don't need flowers to know you love me." "I know, but I like reminding you anyway, and I like reminding everyone else that you're mine." "Still jealous?" "Always. You're my weakness, Jaggy. I'll never stop being possessive about that." She smiled, touching the flowers. In the background of her office, their office now, she'd been promoted to VP. She could hear the sounds of legitimate business, real operations. Min-jae had gone almost completely legal over the past year, keeping only the edges that were impossible to extract from. They'd survived, built something beautiful from something dark. "Come home early tonight," she said. "Why?" "Because I have news, and I want to tell you in person." Pause. "Good news." She touched her stomach, where their future was growing. "The best news." His sharp intake of breath. Then, "I'm leaving now." "Min-jae, you have meetings." "I don't care. I'm coming home, to you, to us." 20 minutes later, he burst into their penthouse, finding her in the kitchen. She held up the pregnancy test, grinning. He stared, processed, then pulled her into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. "We're having a baby," she confirmed. "We're having a baby." He kissed her, desperate and joyful. We're having a baby. Are you happy?" "I've never been happier. Terrified, but happy." He pulled back, hands cradling her face. "I'm going to be a father. We're going to be parents. We're going to raise a child who knows both our cultures, both our languages, both our worlds. A child who'll know that love is worth fighting for, that different worlds can come together, that family isn't just blood. It's choice." He kissed her stomach gently, then looked up at her with wonder. "Thank you for everything, for choosing me, for fighting for us, for giving me a future I didn't know I could have. Thank you for being worth it." Later, when they called their families to share the news, Grace crying happy tears, Chief Okafor gruff but pleased, Mrs. Kang cautiously excited, Chi-Chi screaming. Amara thought about how far they'd come, from flowers and jealousy and danger, to love and marriage and new life, from 2 separate worlds to 1 world built together. It wasn't a fairy tale. There would be more challenges, more navigations between cultures, more complicated family dynamics when their child arrived, but they'd face them together. Always together, because love, real love, wasn't safe or simple or easy. It was fierce and complicated and dangerous and absolutely worth it. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button for more romances that cross borders and break barriers. And tell us in the comments, would you choose dangerous love over safe loneliness? Would you fight for someone even if it meant losing everything else? Let us know, because sometimes the scariest thing isn't the danger. It's admitting you found someone worth risking everything for. See you in the next story.